Iran launches over 200 drones and missiles in ongoing salvo. Shooting incident reported at KLIA. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. My name is Daryl Baptist and you are now watching World Today. We begin today's broadcast with some rather harrowing news. Intercepted drones or missiles flew over Syria's capital city of Damascus on early today after Iran launched a swarm of explosive drones and fired missiles at Israel in its first ever direct attack on Israeli territory. Iran's attack on Israel was launched late on Saturday, risking a major escalation as the United States pledged ironclad backing for Israel. Iran has vowed retaliation for what it called an Israeli strike on its Damascus consulate on 1st April that killed 7 guard officers, including 2 senior commanders, and said its strike was a punishment for Israeli crimes. Israel's military said more than 100 drones were launched from Iran. Security sources in Iraq and Jordan reported dozens seen flying overhead, and US officials said the US military had shot some down. Many of the incoming threats have been intercepted away from Israel's borders, but the salvo is believed to be extending for a prolonged period of time. The Gaza war between Israel and Hamas, now in its 7th month, has driven up tensions in the region, spreading to fronts with Lebanon and Syria and drawing long-range fire at Israeli targets from as far away as Yemen and Iraq. Hamas said yesterday it had submitted its response to Egyptian and Qatari mediators on a proposed truce with Israel in the Gaza Strip, insisting on a permanent ceasefire. Truce talks started on 7th April in Cairo, but have so far brought no breakthrough on a plan presented by US, Qatari and Egyptian mediators. In a statement, the Palestinian group said it reaffirms adherence to its demands, including a permanent ceasefire, the withdrawal of the occupation army from the entire Gaza Strip, the return of the displaced to their areas and places of residence, intensification of the entry of relief and aid, and the start of reconstruction. Hamas said it was also ready to conclude a serious and real prisoner exchange deal between the two parties. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has opposed the permanent ceasefire and vowed to send ground troops into Rafah, ignoring an international outcry against the ongoing war crimes and terror acts, including from the United States. Netanyahu's office yesterday insists that the only obstacle to obtaining the release of the abductees is Hamas and not any factor on the Israeli side. Malaysia strongly condemns the merciless attacks by the Israeli Occupation Forces, or IOF, on Friday in Rafah, which blatantly targeted and injured several humanitarian aid convoy and volunteers, including those operated by Ops Ihsan from Malaysia. The Malaysian Foreign Ministry, in a statement issued late last night, said the attack against humanitarian workers, volunteers and unarmed individuals undertaking relief efforts is totally unacceptable. The statement read that these shameless acts of violence on Israel's part reek of cruelty and inhumanity beyond any comprehension or justification. It is no longer sufficient to chastise these atrocities from the sidelines. The ministry said it is high time for the international community to band together and demand that Israel stop these indiscriminate acts and be held responsible for their war crimes. Where once Israel made dubious claims that these were necessary measures of self-defense, its actions since October of last year have clearly signaled the opposite. Israel is very much the aggressor. At a time when aid is urgently needed to reach Palestinians, the Israeli regime has continuously imposed obstacles and obstructions and threatened safety to starve the old, the sick, women and children, and terrorize them. According to the ministry, this is the second time that Ops Ihsan's operations have been disrupted and the lives of its volunteers needlessly jeopardized. It said the first attack took place on 14th March 2024 and claimed the lives of 8 Palestinians and left more than 20 others injured. In another alarming event, Royal Malaysia Police confirmed that a shooting incident occurred at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, or KLIA, Terminal 1 arrival hall early this morning. However, the situation is under control. Selangor Police Chief Datuk Hussein Omar Khan said that during the incident, which occurred at 1:30 a.m., a man fired 2 shots, with one of the shots hitting a local man who was also a bodyguard. When contacted by the media, he said the police have identified the suspect and launched an operation to track down the suspect, who is believed to have fled to the north. He said the incident was originated from personal issues and unrelated to terrorist activities or groups. He said investigations found that the suspect had intended to shoot his wife, who was waiting for the arrival of an Umrah group, adding that the victim suffered severe injuries due to the shooting. Datuk Hussein said the motive of the incident is still under investigation and the case is being investigated as an attempted murder under Section 307 of the Penal Code and the Firearms Act. More tragic news, I'm afraid. An attacker in Sydney fatally knifed 6 people before being neutralized by police. Witnesses described how the man, who was identified by police as Joel Cauchi on Sunday, ran through the busy mall with a knife, randomly attacking people. The assailant was wearing shorts and an Australian National Rugby League jersey. He was seen by some shoppers, and staff at the mall tried to stop him, and crowds sheltered in shuttered shops. 5 of the 6 victims killed were women, while 8 people, including a 9-month-old baby, were taken to hospital with stab wounds. New South Wales police said at this stage they did not believe the attack was terrorism-related. They added. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said there was no indication yet of the man's motive. However, police have said it was determined that Cauchi had suffered mental health issues in the past, and police had spoken to his family after the attack. Australia, a country of about 26 million people, has some of the world's toughest gun and knife laws, and attacks such as this one on Saturday are rare. In other news, China's top legislator, Zhao Leji, visited the Friendship Tower in Pyongyang and attended festivities commemorating the two countries' friendship. Official North Korean news agency KCNA on Saturday reported Zhao saying during his goodwill visit to North Korea that it was Beijing's consistent strategic policy to defend and develop friendly relations between China and North Korea. He said that Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un have indicated the orientation for the development of relations between the countries. The meeting comes at the end of Zhao's 3-day visit to Pyongyang, where Zhao previously said China is kicking off a friendship year with DPRK and is willing to work closely to help relations reach a higher level. Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK, is North Korea's official name. Kim Jong-un emphasized that North Korea and China have a deep historical tradition and said China-DPRK relations are constantly developing to a new and higher stage. The countries mark 75 years of diplomatic ties this year. Pyongyang has been seeking to expand diplomatic exchanges with its main political ally after lifting COVID-19 restrictions. Still to come, cable car rescue op resumes in Turkey. Stay tuned. Turkey's Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya said rescue teams were continuing operations on Saturday to save 29 more people stuck in a cable car in the southern province of Antalya after an incident a day earlier. The Interior Ministry said 1 person was killed and 10 were injured after a cable car cabin collided with a broken pole. Operations continued overnight after 24 cabins were stranded in the air at 5:23 p.m. on Friday, and 137 people were rescued by Saturday noon from 19 cabins. Yerlikaya added that work continued to save 29 people in 5 cabins. Yerlikaya also said more than 600 search and rescue personnel, 8 helicopters, 1 military cargo plane and other vehicles were working in the area. According to the information on its website, the cable car operation has 36 cabins with a capacity of 6 people each. It takes an average of 9 minutes to go uphill to the Tunuk Tepi facility, with panoramic views of the city of Antalya. Russian emergency services yesterday said they had evacuated thousands of people from the Orenburg region in the south of the Urals as floodwaters continued to rise. Fast-rising temperatures have melted snow and ice, and along with heavy rain, have caused a number of major rivers that cross Russia and Kazakhstan to overflow this month. In the city of Orenburg, one of the worst affected areas in Russia, the Ural River breached its banks, submerging streets and residential areas, and water levels continued to rise Saturday. On Saturday afternoon, the river level reached almost 12 meters, more than 2.5 meters above the level considered critical. The Ural River flows through the center of Orenburg. Floodwater covered the embankment promenade and swirled around houses and high-rise apartment blocks built close to the river. According to authorities, almost 14,000 people have been evacuated from Orenburg and the surrounding region. The Kurgan region further east was also urging people to evacuate, anticipating the arrival of floodwater. The governor, Vadim Shumkov, urged residents likely to be affected to leave now, as the level of the river Tobol is forecast to rise sharply due to melting ice. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro on Saturday proposed a constitutional reform to include life imprisonment for crimes of corruption and treason. The proposal of the left-wing leader has arisen after a corruption scandal which saw former oil minister Tariq El-Aissami arrested this week.
Y creo que ha llegado la hora de una reforma constitucional para introducir en nuestra Constitución la pena de cadena perpetua para la corrupción, de inhabilitación de por vida a la corrupción, de cadena perpetua a la traición a la patria y a los graves delitos contra el pueblo.
Maduro, speaking at a rally in Caracas, asked supporters to back his plan to change the country's constitution, to also introduce lifelong political bans against anyone found guilty of corruption, treason, and serious crimes against the people. Venezuelan courts don't currently allow sentences of life in prison. Currently, the constitution establishes that custodial sentences do not exceed 30 years in prison. Next in sports, City Pass, Rude set to meet in Monte Carlo Masters Final. Stay with us. But before that, ambitious Welsh side Wrexham secured back-to-back promotions with a thumping 6-0 victory over Forest Green on Saturday to ensure a top 3 place in League 2 and rewrite the script for Hollywood owners Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. Paul Mullin scored twice in the emphatic victory against the bottom side in the division to move Wrexham to 82 points from 44 games, ensuring their promotion with 2 matches to spare. Defeats from MK Dons and Barrow meant Wrexham cannot be overhauled in the top 3 and will be playing in the English 3rd tier next season for the first time since 2005. Reynolds and McElhenney took over the club in November 2020, but missed out on promotion from the National League in their first full season before ending a 15-year exile in non-league football in the 2022-2023 campaign. The club's trials and tribulations under its famous owners have come to international attention through the documentary series Welcome to Wrexham. Division leaders Stockport County also sealed their place in League One next season, but the 3rd promotion place has yet to be decided, with Mansfield Town favourites to earn it. In the world of tennis, 2 times champion Stefanos Tsitsipas stunned 2nd seed Jannik Sinner 6-4, 3-6, 6-4 to advance to the final of the Monte Carlo Masters on Saturday. The 25-year-old Greek, who won the title in 2021 and 2022, kept his cool after a near-flawless display in the opening set to stop Sinner from producing a stirring comeback, after the Italian roared back to take a 3-love lead in the second set. Sinner continued to build momentum after levelling things up and raced to a 4-3 lead in the decider before an injury on his right leg forced him to take a medical timeout. The 22-year-old Italian continued the match but proved no match for Tsitsipas, who reasserted himself to win 3 games in a row and clinched the match. Sinner had been in red-hot form this year, having won the Australian, Rotterdam and Miami Open, with his only loss in 23 matches coming against twice Grand Slam champion Carlos Alcaraz in the semi-final of the Indian Wells last month. Having come into the contest with an 11-6 win-loss record for 2024, the win against Sinner ensured that Tsitsipas returned to the top 10 ranking after dropping out for the first time since 2019 earlier in the year. In the other semi-final draw, Casper Ruud stunned top seed Novak Djokovic 6-4, 1-6, 6-4 in a thrilling match, avenging his loss in last year's French Open final to set up a title clash with twice champion Stefanos Tsitsipas. Norwegian Ruud, who had lost to Djokovic in all 5 of their previous matches, broke twice early in the first set before the Serbian record 24-time Grand Slam champion fought back strongly in the second. 8th seed Ruud held his nerve, however, as 5 unforced errors from Djokovic allowed him to go 3-love up in the decider, and he calmly closed out the victory. Tennis great Rafael Nadal will make his return to ATP competition for the first time since January, when he plays Flavio Cobolli in the Barcelona Open next week. The 22-time Grand Slam champion has played just once in an exhibition match since he felt a hip injury flare up during his quarter-final defeat by Jordan Thompson in the Brisbane Open. Nadal, who turns 38 in June, will be looking for a problem-free return as he builds towards seeking a record-extending 15th French Open title. It runs from 20th May to 9th June. The tournament has also been boosted by the return of Nadal's compatriot Carlos Alcaraz, the world number 3, who withdrew from this week's Monte Carlo Masters due to a right arm injury. Unlike Nadal, who has a wildcard invite, the 2-time defending Barcelona champion gets a first-round bye due to being seeded. Nadal has never played 63rd ranked Cobolli, 16 years his junior. If he gets past him, he will face the tougher task of Australian Alex de Minaur in the second round. There is the prospect of a tantalizing semi-final meeting with Alcaraz on the centre court, which now bears Nadal's name following his 12 victories in the tournament. With this potentially Nadal's last year on tour, he will be desperate not to miss any more clay court preparation time for the French Open. And now moving on to motorsports, Aprilia's Maverick Vinales won the sprint at the Grand Prix of the Americas yesterday to claim his second straight sprint victory of the season, ahead of Marc Marquez and MotoGP Championship leader Jorge Martin in an all-Spanish podium. The victory was redemption for pole sitter Vinales, who also won the sprint at the Portuguese Grand Prix in the previous round, but crashed on the final lap of the race in Portimao due to a technical problem while he was running in second place. Vinales is now only the second rider to win back-to-back sprints in MotoGP. Fantic Racing Aaron Canet, meanwhile, took pole in the Moto2 with David Alonso of CF Moto, Aspar team, taking his first ever Grand Prix pole in the Moto3. Earlier, Aprilia's Maverick Vinales took pole position for MotoGP's Grand Prix of the Americas after smashing the lap record. The Spaniard claimed pole with a time of 2 minutes 0.789 seconds, beating rookie Pedro Acosta by 0.328 seconds, followed by Marc Marquez and last year's champion Francesco Bagnaia. Vinales, who won the Portuguese GP sprint last month, said he felt very confident as he improved and made some progression in every race. Vinales' Aprilia teammate and championship leader Jorge Martin finished 6th after crashing twice. Brand Binder, second in the standings, came in 15th. Prominent stars expected to turn up at Cannes Film Festival, unfazed by last year's strikes. That and more in our next Upbeat segment. Directors Francis Ford Coppola, David Cronenberg and Yorgos Lanthimos will compete for the Cannes Film Festival's top prize next month, easing concerns that strikes in Hollywood might dim the star-studded event. Coppola will bring his long-in-the-making passion project, Megalopolis, starring Adam Driver, to the competition, while Lanthimos teams up with Emma Stone after the success of Poor Things, with Kinds of Kindness, and Cronenberg will pull in horror fans again with The Shrouds starring Vincent Cassel. Last year marked a difficult one in Hollywood, as strikes by actors and writers forced filming and post-production work to shut down for months, leaving gaps in 2024's movie schedule. Several big-name actors are making a Cannes appearance, including Richard Gere, Uma Thurman and Jacob Elordi, as well as Hollywood icons Nicolas Cage and Demi Moore. Coming off the resounding success of last year's Barbie, US director Greta Gerwig will head this year's jury. Organizers had built up anticipation ahead of Thursday for this year's lineup by announcing George Miller's new Mad Max film and a western starring Kevin Costner would be premiering. The 2024 edition of the Cannes Film Festival runs from 14th until 25th May. Vibrant orange hues cover the fields of Ibshawe city in Fayoum, Egypt, at the start of the annual harvest season of calendula flowers, a vital aspect of the country's agricultural industry. Despite a gloomy outlook for Egypt's economy, the rising cost of calendulas is good news for farmers of the bright orange flower, also known as common marigold. Calendula, or common marigold, are also known locally as moonflowers because they prefer colder climates. The flowers are planted during the cooler autumn months, with a bloom season spanning from November to May. Despite fertilizer and pesticide price hikes due to the country's inflation, the flower's demand has remained high, with its own price rising from 2 or 3 Egyptian pounds per kilo to 6 Egyptian pounds. Following the harvest, the calendula petals are spread out to dry under the sun before being exported to key markets like Russia, Ukraine, and the United States and Iran. The versatility of the flower petals extends across industries, from cosmetics and pharmaceuticals to traditional medicine. Far from the glitzy racetracks where legendary drivers made their mark in the world of Formula One, Himzo Berganovic has turned his dreams of speed into reality along the dirt roads of northwestern Bosnia. Berganovic, a 36-year-old mechanic, is in possession of a tuned-up replica Ferrari red race car near the Bosnian town of Klujuk. The replica, which took 2 years to build, remains a ramshackle mock-up crafted with sheet metal, a far cry from the advanced carbon fiber used in the multi-million-dollar cars of Formula One teams. Despite Beganovic's limited means, he still hopes to make his car more efficient bit by bit. Since purchasing the vehicle from another racing superfan in the capital, Sarajevo, last year, he has been methodically making tweaks to its exterior while nursing hopes of one day replacing its engine. Along with a more powerful motor, Beganovic hopes to install an automatic gearbox and better tires. While not zipping around the mountain roads at blistering speeds, he sometimes simply parks the car in a popular area and lets people check it out. Archaeologists in Pompeii have uncovered several impressive artworks depicting scenes from Greek mythology during new excavation work in the ancient city. The Pompeii Archaeological Park on Thursday released several videos and images showing remarkably preserved frescoes that had buried it by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79. According to the Archaeological Park of Pompeii, one of the artworks found is said to show Helen of Troy, a figure from Greek mythology, meeting Paris, Prince of Troy. The paintings are thought to have been originally displayed in a banqueting room, providing the social function of entertaining guests and table companions, providing talking points for conversations and reflections of life. The walls were painted black to prevent the smoke from the oil lamps being seen on the walls. People would meet to dine after sunset, and the flickering light of the lamps had the effect of making the images appear to move, especially after a few glasses of good Campanian wine. The excavation of this site is part of a larger project designed to make the vast heritage of Pompeii more efficient and sustainable. In Taiwan, recreational beekeeping has grown steadily in popularity over the past decade, with people tending hive boxes in their yards or rooftop gardens. Beekeeping classes have also popped up in the country, garnering audiences from all walks of life, such as entrepreneurs, retirees, and even children as young as 6 years old. They want to learn more about bees, which has important economic value and a crucial role in agriculture. Some even see this as a chance to make money while taking part in the underforest economy, a practice of developing and selling eco-friendly products that give back to the environment. Bee populations are facing disaster from overuse of pesticides, predatory mites, and extreme temperatures due to climate change. That also spells catastrophe for humans, as 3/4 of the world's main crops depend on bees to act as key pollinators. Temperature and weather fluctuations in Taiwan have impacted honey output in recent years. From 2020 to 2021, it jumped nearly 60% to 13,260 tons before dropping to 9,332 tons the following year. That ends our bulletin this afternoon, wrapping up with a recap of our top story today. Iran launches over 200 drone missiles in ongoing salvo. For those of you traveling back to Klang Valley, we would like to advise you to follow the travel time advisory issued by the highway operator and have a safe trip back home. Also, for those observing, a happy Putandu. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Darrell Baptist. Stay tuned to TV2.